Hi, everyone. Welcome to Global Programs in Your Career, our workshop for this afternoon. I am Roxanne Fenton. I am the Associate Director in Creative Careers here at Art Center, and I am joined by my colleagues, Lisa Loberg and Kyrie Sanchinelli Salazar. Did I pronounce it right, Kyrie? All right.
You did.
So we are here. That's who you're going to be hearing from. We're the ones who are going to be doing the talking, and we hope to bring some clarity and some knowledge to this topic. All right. So we are going to cover kind of a lot in this time period. It looks like a lot with our roadmap laid out here, but we're going to go over, what the programs are and kind of how that works. And then we're going to get into different things that happen based on a study away experience and how you can highlight that in your job search and in the workplace. So things like storytelling and real world skills. We'll talk about international students specifically and study away. Lots of good content coming. I am going to start by turning it over to my colleagues to talk about different ways that you can study away.
Thanks, Roxanne. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Loberg. I'm Associate Director of Global Programs here at Art Center. Worked in study abroad for many years and love the opportunity to show students ways to travel the world. I'm joined by my colleague.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Kyrie, and I'm the advisor with Global Programs.
And I want to also mention that this workshop is geared for students who are planning to study abroad and also has great content for students who have already studied abroad. So, and again, we'll have time for questions, but I think you'll find that this applies to students in both categories. So as we're looking at study away, as you may already know, there's a couple of different avenues. So one example would be a travel component plus a course on campus, entertainment, art, entertainment narratives. Japan is a great example of that, where you're going to be traveling and then taking a class. Others are like ION Berlin, Mexico City, etc. Another model is a full term abroad, and we're joined by someone who has done not one, but 2 terms on a study away program. So that is in the superstar category. But you can earn a full course load, 15 credits of study abroad, of credit on a full term study abroad program. And then, of course, we've got our Art Center Berlin term. We have exchange programs. We have individualized programs in that category. And then, of course, there's differences with the types of programs where you're in kind of a group setting, such as Art Center Berlin or the TAMA program, versus an individual setting where maybe you're going on an exchange or individualized program and you're the only Art Center student representing.
So I'm going to talk about the creative careers side of things. And we used to be known as CPD, Career and Professional Development. We're now known as Creative Careers. And we are here to help you with anything related to your creative career. So from the very concrete things like, how do I put a resume together? What kind of interview questions am I likely to get? To more sort of big picture thinking, like, how do I know that I'm pursuing the right career path for me? And how do I best prepare myself to be successful in the world of work? And we can help you out with all of that. We do things like this workshop, but also we have one-on-one career advising, and we have a website that I'll share at the end and all kinds of resources for you. So that's a little bit about our office. And I'm going to segue now into about career benefits of global programs. And I think there are some big picture ways, and then we're going to get into some more concrete ways that global programs can benefit you in your career, whether that's getting a job or being successful at your job. And one of the things that we know increasingly now is that people don't follow a linear career path. They don't get on with a company, stay at that company, work there for 40 years and retire. People change companies, they change emphasis in what they're doing. Sometimes people even change careers. And all of that involves a lot of coping with being uncomfortable, coping with change and what life throws at you. And as we're going to talk about a little bit more in detail, that is something that you are learning constantly when you are studying abroad. So it sets you up to kind of really deal with the future of work as it looks right now. Also, create a global programs experience can really help you with your job search itself, because one of the things that you need to do in a successful job search is stand out. And not everyone goes on a study away, a study abroad experience. And so not everyone has those same experiences that you have that you can talk about in your job search and really highlight and make you stand out. And then the other thing that we're going to get into is there are so many essential skills, things like communication, things like teamwork, things like knowing how to navigate a system, knowing how to get around in an unfamiliar place, believe it or not, can be an essential workplace skill. So we're going to talk about those. And everything that we talk about today really falls under the category of telling your story. And your story is something that you are going to need both to get hired, to get promoted, to move to a new job. It's a key part of how people see and understand you. And it's about explaining yourself and your experiences, but also just your outlook on life, your whole perspective, your approach to design, your philosophy, your artistic interests, the angle you take on storytelling. All of these things are part of the story that you are telling when you are in a job search environment, when you are on the job. And so that's what you do and why you need it. And it takes some practice to get good at telling your story in a way that convinces other people that you are somebody they really want to work with. And I want to emphasize again that we're here in Creative Careers to help you practice your storytelling, to help you work on understanding what parts of your story are important to you, but also what parts of your story are going to be interesting and compelling to somebody else, and how to bring that about. So think about everything that you experience or that you have experienced on a global program, on a study away experience, as potential material for your story about who you are as an artist or a designer, as a coworker, as a teammate, all of those things. So this comes up in interviews. Really, a great way to stand out in an interview is to be able to tell the story about the time you were setting up a pop-up exhibition in Berlin. How many people have done pop-up exhibitions in Berlin? Right? And behavioral questions are a thing that get asked in interviews. And these are questions that are like, tell me about a time. How did you do this? Have you ever experienced conflict with a teammate, for example? And you are going to have all of these experiences from your study away that you can use to answer these kind of questions in an interview and really stand out from candidates who don't have those experiences. It's also going to kickstart your outreach and networking. You are going to be meeting students that you may not know on campus. You might be making a whole new set of friends in a foreign country. You are going to get to know artists and designers from different countries, depending on what program you go on and how it's structured. These are all people that just by the fact of knowing them and developing relationships with them are a part of your network. And that becomes a source of connections and people that you can reach out to later on from those relationships that you've built. And then last, telling your story goes towards creating your brand. They're not exactly the same thing, but if you've ever heard this idea that we all have a personal brand and it's what people say about us when we're not around, is our brand. And you are going to include all of these lessons that you've learned, all these experiences that you've had, everything that you've done in your study away experience is going to contribute to your personal branding and how people understand who you are and what you stand for. So as we go through the rest of today and into the rest of these topics, think about them as part of your story that you're developing or that you're going to tell after you come back, whether you've been on exchange or you're coming back, or we have people in both positions in the audience today. All right.
Yeah, and really thinking about how do you get there and why is a study abroad experience kind of the key to these things. And for those of you who have already studied abroad, I hope that you're maybe jotting down a little list for yourself of things and takeaways and things that relate to your different experiences abroad. Because it, as Roxanne said, it does take practice. It's not something that's very easy to do off the cuff. It takes memorization and identifying those key elements and those that will then be part of that brand that we're discussing. So if you did participate, hopefully you're starting to brainstorm some topics that you could talk about in these various instances. But when you engage with the world, what does that even mean? And how is that different maybe from tourist travel or something else? And there's a couple of key things that we want to help you think about. So when you are leaving your comfort zone, when you are deciding to do a study away experience, you are having to adapt to a new environment. You are developing a sense of independence and resilience, a sense that you can count on yourself to make good decisions, and really you're developing your sense of curiosity when it comes to your environment. And a lot of that comes down to feeling comfortable with being uncomfortable. So Kyrie, what are some examples of that, do you think?
Yeah. So when doing these programs, you're getting out of, right, that art center bubble. Even if you're participating in a faculty-led program like Berlin or TAMA, where you're still with other art center students and you're still with art center faculty, but you're out of Pasadena, you're out of California, you're out of the immediate art center bubble. And so you still have to adapt. Yes, you're with other classmates, but you're still adapting to a new city, to a new country, you're adapting to a new culture. And you have to learn, be comfortable with talking to other people that are not art center students, that are not art center faculty, talking with strangers, whether it's at a coffee shop ordering a drink or whether it's asking for directions because you got lost. So it's really pushing those boundaries, right? And traveling in new environments. Traveling with family is one thing, but traveling on your own, even though you're doing this art center program, it's still there's still some sense of independence, right? And if you're participating in any kind of exchange program or individualized program, even more so. Lisa mentioned earlier at the introduction, most of the time you're the only Art Center student on those types of programs. So you are traveling, you're traveling with a different lens. You're not traveling to, as the tourist of sightseeing, you're traveling as a designer, as an artist, and as a student who's going to be engaging with other students and other artists, and learning new perspectives. And so all of that is going to be shaping you and molding you, and adds to that adaptation and that resiliency that you're going to be building as you're participating in these programs.
Yeah, and to Kyrie's point, I think you can make any situation interesting and enticing to a listener. So if you were the only person, then you say, I was the only person from my college to do this, to go here and do this experience. And that compelled me to be really out there and making connections because I couldn't rely on a group of people I already knew. You can make the other thing really compelling by saying, I got to travel with a select group of Art Center students and faculty who helped to unlock the different sites that we were seeing. We did research about these different locations. I came away with a project that was based on it. So really, whatever your situation was with a study abroad experience, you will make it interesting, and it will be something that the person on the other side wants to hear more about because it sets you apart.
And I just want to jump in and note that adaptation, resilience, and curiosity are more and more the kinds of skills. Those are some of those essential skills that we know we all need to cope with change, with uncertain workplaces, or not workplaces, but uncertain industries where things are changing. Maybe there's layoffs. So these all help us navigate the long vision of our career, even beyond that first job. So when you go abroad, you go to another country, you're encountering other cultures and you're encountering people from who do things differently than you do. And we know from research of various different kinds that this kind of experience builds empathy. It builds our ability to identify with other people, to feel for them, to appreciate different experiences that are different than our own. And again, that's an important sort of essential skill, but empathy is actually a necessary design skill. So whether you are a storyteller working in entertainment or you're creating products, in industrial design or spaces or communication that's going to resonate with somebody, you are needing to empathize with the people that you are designing and creating for. How is this going to land with an audience? How is this going to meet the needs of a user? So empathy is not only a good essential skill, a good life skill, but it's a necessary design skill. And so how are you encountering and where are you learning about other cultures when you are studying abroad?
Yeah, and we think about the big things, like we think about I'm taking a class, I'm doing a research project. I've got these really big outcomes from my academic experience. But those of you who have had a study abroad experience, this might resonate with you already. Oftentimes, it's also in the little things that develop these skills, this sense of empathy. Sometimes it's the smallest things. And so I would say don't overlook those small things. Think about how those have impacted you and have developed new skills within you. Kyrie, some examples.
Yeah. I just, before I kind of go give examples, I just wanted to also touch base about the culture shock that students often experience in these types of programs. And you're going to experience, you're going to experience it in those day-to-day, like, interactions, right? So it's not just the classroom, the design, like how different people do design, how differently people do design. That's not the right word that I'm trying to say, but trying to get at. But it's also it's like those, as Lisa said, those small interactions. So I mentioned earlier the coffee shop, right? Like learning to how people order things in another place is different. And just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong or it's incorrect or it's weird. It's just different, right? Everyone has a different background. Everyone has a different cultural background, and that is going to come up. And so that culture shock is bound to happen. And you're probably most likely going to experience it in those small interactions when you're just kind of like, oh, waiting for the bus, and things are like how people wait for the bus, is different here than how they do it in Europe or how they do it in Japan. And so those interactions are what's going to help you build that empathy skill that Roxanne already talked about. Being respectful of others and trying to think of like we have others. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Yeah. So just going to the grocery store, right? And how you do that shopping, how you do that differently here and then how you would do it over there. All of those things are building that skill for you, whether you realize it or not. And then again, the academic expectations as well. Like if you're doing an exchange program, how other institutions do classes is going to be really different from how they do it here at Art Center. Some institutions may have a more strict kind of things. Other institutions might be a little bit more laid back, where students have a little bit more flexibility. Things are a little bit more fluid. There's a little bit more freedom in things. And so all of that is stuff that is going to be helping you, and it's helping you grow. In the moment, it might be a little bit difficult, but when you come back from your experiences and you reflect on them in retrospect, you'll see, oh yeah, this helped me, in my academic journey, whether in the moment it was something that was challenging. And then again, this is all just leading you to getting you closer to being in the real world. You're interacting with so many people, getting ready for that job search. These experiences, even though they're in this academic kind of safe bubble kind of zone, there's still real world experiences, and they're just kind of preparing you even more when you're done with Art Center and you're graduating and you're out of that Art Center bubble and you're starting your job search and you're working with clients or you're working with contracts or with companies. Those are all things that are helping you prepare for those future experiences.
So let's go ahead and talk about some real world skills. This is where we're going to get particularly concrete, and we're going to think about some of the programs that Art Center offers. So one thing is networking.
Yeah, and I would like to add that a lot of times people think that a study away global program experience is a nice to have add-on to your college career. But I think what we want to underscore here in this workshop is that we really see it as essential and as a way to set you apart. So what are the ways that that this experience can set you apart? Well, we're going to go over some skills that you might get during your lifetime, but when you study abroad, you get a lot of things packed into a short amount of time. And so that is a huge benefit. So the networking piece is professional. It's also personal, and it's interacting with artists on a campus visit or visiting studios. It's being able to make conversation quickly when you're thrown into a new environment. I'm thinking of our London Ancient Modern faculty-led program. That's a course plus a travel component. They are literally rubbing shoulders with amazing, well-known artists. Well, you've got to make conversation. You've got a few seconds to say who you are and to talk about your interests. And so those are really opportunities to practice and to really get skilled in that art of making conversation and being in those environments. You're going to be navigating new environments quickly. It can take a whole term to do something maybe here in Pasadena, but when you are studying away, you've got to figure out the lay of your city, the lay of the land rather quickly. You've got to know where the subway goes and how to get from point A to point B. So these experiences kind of compel you, they force you into developing these skills really quickly. And we're mentioning them because these are things that you want to highlight and to take inventory of for yourself. These are things you will gain and things you may have gained with a study away experience. So you'll be, working with teams across disciplines. There's a lot of our programs that some programs are for a particular department and you engage with people maybe you haven't met before, but other programs are transdisciplinary and you're thrown into an environment where maybe you're the only one from your department and you're getting to work on a project with students of all majors, students from other departments. That is going to help you in your future. That's something you can point to in an interview, and it's something that you will likely encounter at different junctures for the rest of your life. And a lot of times students will look back and point to their study away experience as giving them an edge and helping them be set up for success in these areas.
And when you're in some of these programs, you're also, you might be working on a brief, or you might be working on a project, whether you're creating a project on your own or you're creating a project in a group. It goes back to working, if it's a group project, then it ties back to the previous one of working in teams across disciplines. But you're going to walk away with something concrete from these study away programs. And again, these are experiences that you can either talk about in an interview, you can put them on a resume. For example, our Eye on Berlin program, which is hosted by the illustration department, the project that you're walking away with is you're going to put on an exhibit with your classmates in Berlin. And that is a concrete thing. And that is a skill to have of putting on an exhibit. And you can put that on a resume. So you're walking away with these concrete things and it's finding a way of how to implement them or demonstrating them when you're doing your job search. Putting them on your resume, putting them in your portfolio. These are all projects that should be going in your portfolio. So many students' portfolios, it's like faculty want to see process, they want to see ideation, and your projects that you're doing in these programs are projects that can be going into your portfolio or can be going onto your personal website. So you're not stuck like, oh, I did this thing and that's the only place it exists. We want you to show the work that you did, whether it's the project, a brief, whatever it was, show it to the world and, showcase it to other people. So these are just concrete things that you're going to be these are just some of the concrete things that you're walking away with from some of these programs.
Okay, navigating systems. This is, again, one of those big picture things that you may not have thought that you are learning to do. But this is actually a really important life skill, and it's an important skill that employers probably don't know they're looking for, but really successful employees have. And so from the time you become interested in a program, and Lisa and Kyrie can talk to you about all the ways that you learn to navigate a system.
Yeah, I mean, one of the, I think, most onerous things about a study away experience is the paperwork. And those of you who have studied away could probably relate. It's like there are all these steps, there's all this paperwork. And then on top of that, a government is, holding up your visa and you've got to navigate going to an appointment and figuring out exactly the paperwork that they need. So don't overlook the fact that even though those feel like annoying barriers between point A and point B, you're actually developing weird skills from them and really helpful skills, as Roxanne mentioned. So researching a program there's a lot of information on our website, on all the websites for different programs and schools. And so you are navigating that, you're making decisions on what is the best fit for you, what kind of courses, what kind of experience you're looking for. All those are really important steps along the way. And then you've got to apply. You've got to put yourself out there. You're writing a statement of purpose. You're, again, navigating those steps, making sure that you're uploading the right thing. These seem like insignificant things, but they add up. And as Roxanne mentioned, they are qualities, that diligence, those are qualities that employers are actually really valuing. As you're preparing to study away, you are determining your budget. You're looking at the cost of things. You're calculating how much you're going to spend over the period of time and value, judging what you want to buy or spend things on versus what you really have money for. Those are skills, life skills as well. And then, of course, navigating things, as I mentioned, the visa, packing, buying your flight. Some students have done a lot of travel before they study abroad. For some students, it might be the first time getting on a plane, traveling by themselves, being really responsible for themselves and not having, a family member to pick up their passport if they dropped it on the ground. So these are things that really can make that transition into that independence and these important skills that carry on for life.
And just to bring, what I say navigating a system, companies are a system, right? Learning to navigate a new workplace that you are working in, and knowing what their procedures are and what's allowed and what's not allowed, or how the design process works at a company. That's all learning. That's all a similar kind of thing you have to learn about a company. Schools. Learning how to navigate Art Center better, learning how to navigate the school that you're on exchange at. Those are systems that you learn to navigate. Governments with the visa, with the passport, all of those. And then industries. Like if you're going to have a long career in an industry is a system that you have to learn to navigate and learn how to get through. And so that's why we kind of wanted to bring this idea to you, because this is probably something you didn't think was key learning in your study away experience, but we actually see it as really valuable skills. Okay, if I have any international students with us, you may be thinking, well, I'm already studying abroad. Right? And it's true, you are getting all of these benefits out of just being in the United States for schools. But you get even an extra layer when you go abroad from Art Center, because it reinforces and establishes all of those great things that you're learning and building by being in the US. You're already prepared for some of those experiences. And it makes it a little bit easier, even to go abroad from Art Center. You get to practice. So maybe something happened to you when you first came to the US, and now you're going to Berlin, and you have the opportunity to say, that went really well. I want to have that experience again. Or, I'm going to do things differently in Berlin than I did in the US. So you get to practice all of these elements. You get to further develop the skills that you're already building by being in another country for your main school. You're getting to further develop those skills by being in yet another country. Whoops. And one thing that I guess I didn't put it on my list of things to appear on the slide is that if once you've been in the US for 2 or 3 years, it's in some ways at least can stop feeling so strange. And so when you go to a new place, you are again confronted with all of that newness. And you get to kind of re-enter that process. And it's a beautiful way to layer experiences, I think, for international students.
Definitely.
All right. So some of you don't need this because you already have studied away, but we wanted to just go over a few myths that students might be thinking are true about study away.
Yeah. So the first myth, common myth, is that it's too expensive. And it really is similar. Your study abroad experience could be really similar in cost to a term at Art Center. Here at Art Center, you're responsible for your own meals, right? You got to do your own grocery shopping. You got to cook your own meals. You got to bring your own lunch to campus when you have very long days, or you need to purchase your own lunch or your own dinner. And so similarly, when you're doing one of these study away experiences, for example, like for Berlin or Tama, where you are away for an entire term, you are living in housing that has a kitchen. So you're also going to be doing your grocery shopping. You're also going to be prepping your meals and taking them to class. So that's what we mean by it. The cost is similar to a term at Art Center. Your personal expenses that you have here in the US, it's going to be the same wherever you are in one of these other places. So it doesn't necessarily have to be extra. And there are scholarships available if students are in need of financial help. Another myth is that it often can delay graduation, but that's false. All of our programs are meant to help students stay on track for graduation. All of the courses, all of the programs that you participate in give you credit, and you can earn anywhere from 3 credits with a course that's going to travel somewhere for a short period of time, like the Entertainment Narratives Japan program, or you can get up to 15 credits in our full term programs that go to Berlin and go to Tama. And all of those credits can fulfill degree requirements. So it's not meant to keep you at Art Center an extra term. It's not meant to keep you here longer. It's really meant to keep you on track for graduation. And so if you were planning to graduate in 7 terms, you can still do that with a study away experience under your belt. Another common myth is that I don't speak the language, or that I need to speak the language in order to participate in one of the programs, and that is false. All of our programs, all of our Art Center programs are obviously in English, and our exchange programs, our partners also teach in English because they have so many international students who come to their institutions. So English is used very common, and you often don't need a language in order to participate. If you want to do a language, you're more than welcome. If you want to, have that extra, that extra umph when you're in another country, you can. But English is, you'd be surprised how much English is used in so many other places outside of the United States. So you don't need the language in order to participate in a particular program. And then another myth that is often held is that students are really scared or nervous that they're going to be alone, and you're not. If you're participating in one of our faculty-led programs, you're going to be there with other Art Center students and with Art Center faculty. But if you're participating in an exchange program or an individualized program, even though you might be the only Art Center representative there, you still have support. You're going to have the support of the exchange institution, whether it's their exchange office, the faculty there, the other students that are in that program, and same thing with individualized. Some of them are very wraparound and they provide a lot of support. So you're going to have supports no matter what program you participate in. Yes, some of them require a little more independence and being comfortable being the only Art Center students, but all of these programs in one shape, way or another, have a built-in support system. So you will not be on your own on an island where no one can help you. And then you're always going to have the support of our office. Even though we're far away from you, you can always send us an email, whether it's you're confused about a class, whether you got sick and you're like, I need to go to the doctor and I don't know what to do. You can always contact our office and we will always do our best to support you from afar. So just know that you're not going to be alone if you participate in any kind of study away program.
All right. So just to summarize what we've covered today, All of these things are going to help you in your job search and your future career. You're going to be developing essential skills like empathy, adaptability, resilience, curiosity, navigating systems. All of this is done in a very real world environment where you get out and experience the city that you're living in. You get to have real world design or art experiences in many of these programs. This is all going to give you great material for your story, for your brand, for your interviews, for your networking, your outreach. And that's all going to help you stand out in a job search, and stand out in your career. We wanted to leave you with an overview of some of the kinds of programs that are going on, and I will let Lisa and Kyrie talk about any of the ones they want to highlight off this slide.
Yeah, so we're just highlighting a few that we're accepting applications for. If you were saying, hey, this kind of resonates with me, I think I'm ready to take the leap and do a global program. Here are some upcoming programs. So CDMX is a program that has traveled to Mexico City after a summer course. ION Berlin, also a summer course followed by travel to Berlin and setting up that exhibit that we mentioned. Sierra Summer is a good first step. It's a domestic program, so it's here in California. It's a summer class with field trips, but it does get you out of your comfort zone because one of the field trips is camping. So don't underestimate that being added to your story as well. And then, of course, our individualized study away, exchange programs, Art Center Berlin term, those are full term programs that you can be looking into. So don't miss out.
Right. And with that, we are going to wrap up. You can reach us, global programs, contact information, website, and Instagram, and Creative Careers with our email address, website, and Instagram. So grab a screenshot of this screen if you want to reach out to either of our offices. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.